So actually this morning I did some of these drills as well as in a class. It was the 24 movement class this morning. So this is really important to find those lines, while we develop those sight lines, we start to realize, what the body form should be like. And so there's always a final position, then you transition through. So turning your shoulders, turning your waist 135 degrees, going to the back side. And then you target the center line on your body. So if we just hold that position, if we find this position, we target that position, and then the other hand becomes part of that. Now we cover the hand like this, and then fold this elbow, bring this hand down, and push. That's your brush knee. Now, in the 24, you want this space to be a little bit bigger than when we would be doing it on the sort of on the Wu style, where the framework is a little smaller, because this is, you're kind of left like this. So they open the armpit area and they kind of round out. Okay, so that's one of the characteristics that they practice. So they feel that with the arm out like this, it's fuller. And then this hand is here. This is by the ear. So you have one there. Now this hand down here is actually where your finished brush knee hand would be. Okay. So that gives you a reference point. See, once you establish a reference point, then you have a target place to put that hand. And then you strive to be in that same exact position over time, and then the muscle memory is developed. So strum the lute is that center line, but your body should be sort of twisted to the 45-degree corner. So that's really aligning so the center of your chest would be on that 45 corner. And then this hand is in line with the nose. See? So the nose is an important reference point. And then when you sit in your stance, your center line is actually not over this leg, but to the heel of the supporting leg. You see? So if you look in the mirror and you drop that vertical line, you will see a vertical line dropping through the nose, the fingertip, and into the heel of the back foot. And if you look in the mirror, you will see that that's where your body is. It's right on that line. Now the thing is, if you don't have the mirror as the reference, even though you're referencing the body as a concept, if you don't see it, you don't know if it's actually there or not. But now that you see it, you have to start to feel it. Because once you feel the balance point, then you'll know that it's there. So that's, part of the learning. When someone, whether it's a teacher or an instructor, adjusts your hands and puts your hand in a certain position, and then you go through the movement, then they reset the position if it's off and you put it back there. After it's put back there enough times, you start to recognize it, and then that's how we learn, and that's how we replicate positions over time. They become habits. Now, when we're doing part the horseman, we're in the hold the ball position. So hold the ball position, we're squared to the mirror, is this. Now, if we turn into this space, or reverse the ball and turn into this space, which is now 45. So bearing in mind that you have the center line and the two corner positions, which are your 45 lines. That's the extent of the body turning, and if it's turning to my left, I would move back to my right. That's a right center. If I move to my right and I open it up, then I actually will move to the left center. Okay, moving to the left and finding your center. Okay, then the other thing that you're trying to do is go forward as you straighten the front leg and then rotate from the spine. Your front knee is actually lining up with the tip of your foot. So once the tip of your foot is lined up with the knee, then you're going to feel that there's more weight in it than if it's even 2 inches behind that toe. Because once you bring the knee forward to aligns with the toe, you brought more body weight into the front leg, and you should probably feel that being a little bit heavier than it would be when your knee is not in position. But what brings the knee over the front toe is the ankle. The ankle has to relax and then fold a little bit, and you get a bigger angle as you shift the knee forward. So that's where a conflict would be, because our knees, when it wants to go forward and the ankle doesn't release, then you're going to be like this. But once you relax the knee and the ankle folds forward, then you sit into the front leg. Now you're sitting into the forward leg, and your hips have to relax. So that's what we mean by relaxing and sinking. So sinking is taking the tension out of the joints and then allowing gravity to work with your movement. So once you release the tension, then gravity is going to act on it. Then you have to kind of regulate the amount of strength that's in it. So that's really part of proprioception, but it's also part of your sensitivity. You start to become much more aware of how that feels. And once it feels correct, then you'll feel comfortable and much more relaxed. And then as you pass through another phase where there's, another threshold that you overcome, you relax even more. So eventually you'll delete any erroneous strength that's in the movement that's really not necessary. But at the beginning, you really don't know, how much that is. In fact, if I said, well, we're 70-30, you really don't know what 70-30 is. You just kind of assume or guess that that's 70-30, or 80-20, or 90-10, or 0-100. 0-100 actually is something you can know. Because if you take your foot off, that's 0, that's 100%. Once you put it down, is that 90, 87, or so you really don't know. You just know through a transition, because you're not really weighing it out. You're really just feeling. Okay, so Rob went through these, right? So this is the center line. This is the back corner. So when we're like this, there's an alignment. You see your hands are like this. When we're like this, there's an alignment. We're like this. So we take that alignment, which is a straight angle through your chest into the fingertip, and I step up and I turn my body 45 degrees, then you should have 135 degrees. You know how we got the 135? It's the 90 here, and then turning of the 45 gives you 135, because that 45 added to the 90 gives you 135. So while we know that that's where it's going, it feels different from when we're just doing this. We have to bring this to 90 and then turn this to 45, and because this is straight, it'll be accurate. But when you go like this, you really can't find it in the beginning, because you're going through the space and you're not sure where it is. So what's the simplest way to get to that space? Have the hand go right in front of your body and goes to there, right? Because this line, even though it's slightly in front of you, because you really can't go through the body, a magician can do it, but we really can't do it. We have to pass as close to the front as we can, and then we find that back corner. So this movement is very natural, right? There's no conflict in the movement when the shoulder goes up like that, because the hand does do that, or the arm does do that. But it becomes a conflict if you try to take it outside of that line and try to lift it over your head, because there's a little bit of tension in the shoulders that takes it over here or over there. That tension becomes a conflict. So that's what we have to kind of work through and discover. So it's as simple as that, right? When we're here, we bring this hand to here and we turn the torso 45 degrees. So if you think about it, we generate that 135 degrees by turning our torso. So if we turn our torso, that means it creates something in space, and you also can reverse that and move. So if my hand is here, and I fold my elbow, and then I begin to turn my torso back to the front, I brought my elbow toward the front, and my hand actually started going that way. And then we execute like that. So there's your push. Now because we're here, and I do this, and I turn, now I did both sides. Because I did both sides, I'm ready to do a back and forth movement, and that's what brush knee is. So when you combine those elements, the movement looks like it's moving continuously and working as a relationship, right? So that relationship is built based on the fact that our body begins to understand the angular geometry of those positions. And then because we're generating the movement from the body, we can let everything else, from the neck on down to the back and every other part of your body, relax, because it's not involved with your movement. If it's not involved with the movement, why would there be tension? So you have to let it go. So letting go, I was talking about this morning, is not easy for a lot of people because a lot of people are uptight. They're stressed. They have anxiety. So what's the most people do when they have stress and anxiety? They tense or they stiffen. So letting go is not an easy thing to do, right? So letting go becomes a mindset. Stretching becomes something that really is generated from the mind and the breath. So when you let it go in stretching, you release the tension and you let it flow. So one of the reasons why Tai Chi is prescribed, for stress relief and so forth, and why it's good for that is because you learn to let go, you learn to release the tension, you learn to clear your mind, and you learn not to worry about it. So then if we're going backwards, we just have to, once we get to the front, we have to turn. Now here the turn is the body goes to the front, then it passes the front and it goes to the back. And what you have to track when we turn is that the hand is going to be parallel or tangent to that circle, but it's also running in front of your body, right? So that line really has to be controlled by your movement. So when we're here, and I start to come down, there's a point that's square, there's a point that starts to turn, and your hand has to move while you're turning. And that makes it into your feet do this, right? We're here. So here's my center. My tailbone is over the heel, and I plant my foot, but my foot has to be like this. So the two heels actually kind of go close together or just a little bit to the outside. So that when I sit back, then my tailbone ends up over the heel of that foot. So you're presetting the position where your body is going to transition to. So that's all part of spatial awareness, proprioception, knowing where your body is and where you plant the foot. So that's how detailed it can get if you're trying to figure out how it should go. And that's why I have all these mirrors in the place now, because I realize that a lot of people never see themselves doing the movement. And because you can't see yourself, the things I'm talking about, you really can't relate to it, because all we're doing is imagining that that's what we're doing. It's virtual. But the virtual movement becomes a reality when your body starts to track it and know. And that's what body intelligence is, because you start to know, you get a feeling that the movement is there. All of the things that we do is like that. When the hand goes there, it goes there, it goes here. You know those positions, and there's so many different combination of movements that your body starts to recognize all of this. So the more you recognize, the more you discover, the more insightful you become, the more skillful you become. That's really how it works. Now, people don't normally think about it like that because what you do is you're a practitioner. Someone like myself thinks about it because I'm trying to figure out why it's like that. Then I share this information with you, and then it becomes a teaching tool. So I teach with this concept. I've been teaching using those geometric shapes for a long time, but we don't always recognize in the beginning, because even though we know what a triangle is and we know what a square is, when you transition through these squares and circles and hoops, we don't always understand what the body has to go through. So the body has to learn that and program that into the system, because it has to know what round is. It has to know what square is. Now we know just from experience that we know what round is, square, and so even children are learning these geometric shapes, and they have, like in the Montessori schools, or when they're learning all the toys and they go into these holes and so forth. Then when you pick up something, even with your eyes closed, you know that it's round. You know that it's square. You know that it has angles. Not necessarily knowing what angle, but you know that it's a shape. So when we go through our movements, we're creating shapes. Now the transitions are a little bit different because there's integration. Because when this hand moves, this hand moves, this hand moves, that hand moves. That's a little bit different as far as, now you're multitasking. This has to do that, that has to do that, this has to do this. When and how and why it has to do it is something that has to happen as a course of that process. And then you begin to understand. When we're here, there's a position. That's an interim position. That interim position started here, and then we came to here. Because this and this, this and this become the phase of the movement, and within each of those phases, your body has to know when and why it's going to happen. So you have to answer those questions. So, it does take, Tai Chi and martial arts is actually something that strengthens your intelligence, because even though we're just working with movement, you change the way you think and the way your body functions. Okay, so let's go through the form. Ready? Feet parallel. Let's open. Turn, hold the ball. Set up your hold the ball position. Step out and relax and shape the hand. Hold the ball, round it out. Step up. Good. Switch, step up, one movement at a time. Control, lift, shift, turn. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Twist step. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Hook your wrist, down, downward posture, 2, scoot up, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. See, it's very methodical to go from one point to the next, because you're dealing with space, you're dealing with 3 dimension. So you imagine if it's a circle, it's 360 degrees in one plane, 360 degrees in another plane, 360. You have to merge these different planes of movement, changing the angle of those positions and combining that. That's just 3 dimensions. You have multi-dimensional movement. So what do I mean by multi-dimensional movement? If we just look at this, then we have one plane. But our hands are changing planes constantly. So what are they doing? What's your hands doing? What's your fingers doing? What's your knee doing? What's your foot's doing? You have so many things happening simultaneously. How many probably permeability combinations that you would have based on that? You wouldn't be able to figure it out. The permutations, you wouldn't be able to figure out what has to happen, because we get so many things going on. But we do the gross movement. You can see that the body turns, then this comes to here, this comes to here, this moves to here, this moves to here. Then, so it's like robotics. You're actually moving like a robot. You're moving through space, doing, creating curved movements with sort of like linear actions. So when they say seek the straightness from the round, that's what's happening. Or seek the round from the straight. Because everything is created as an action. Although roundness is also mostly part of it, because our joints only pivot off points. So if you pivot off a point, it becomes an arc, it becomes a radius, it becomes a circle. We don't do complete circles all the time, although this is probably as complete as you get as a circle. When we lift like this, it's really not this. It's coming from here to here to here to here to here to here to here because this is the direction my body ended up. There's my center line, there's this and my knee, right? If I come back to center, it's back to this heel. Not this side, it's this side. When we go forward, it becomes this side through here to here. So that's what we call the alignment of your body form, right? We're aligning the body. Alignment of your body creates balance and, good imagery. Like, someone that's doing pottery or doing figurines that are three-dimensional, like those Tai Chi figurines. You look at them and you see the posture, you recognize it. Well, when you go into a posture, you've got to recognize it. It has to see a position. When you have the hands like this, there's a straight line between there to there. How do you know that? From experience and also feeling. That's 45 degrees. That's 45 degrees. 45 degrees is that. It's like that. It's like that. Those are 45 degrees. Because those are lines that you've established in the body from the experience, doing it over and over again. So when we go to downward posture, when hand goes like this, we hook the hand, it goes over here, this hand goes to there, we turn like this. That's all you're actually doing. But it gets complicated when you're moving through. So let's try it again, just to see if we can figure that out. Okay, ready? And begin. Start here. Preparation and open. So there's this soft step. Lift. Sink. And press. 1, 2. And now hold the position for 1 second. So this arm is a little bit too angled. This elbow should be here. This wrist should be here. Center line. This should be here. Because the shoulder should come forward a little. No, not twist the waist. Bring the shoulder forward. Yeah. Now that creates the hoop. So the fact that this is rounded and this is here, now you feel structure. Now you should feel under here. When the shoulder's back, you don't feel that. So this actually is not aligned. This hand should be here.
Oh, okay, so it goes really.
Yeah, because right now you look at the line, you missed the center. Your palms should be on top of each other, allowing your body to create that shape. So that's kind of what you have to identify. That shape is a circle. Remember we've got lower hoop, middle hoop, upper hoop? We have to find that hoop and we have to find that size of that circle. Is everybody's circle the same size? No, it's not. It's your circles are a little bit different because then this is, relax that one, down, down. Yeah. So everyone's circle is slightly different because the length of our torso is slightly different, right? Because now you can feel it.
On my way to doing this. Okay, I see.
Yeah. And you would do this, sit, and let go of that shoulder. Yeah. So you have to find that position. So when we do the classes, we assume that we're finding it, but the thing is, relax this one, yeah. And then lift this one a little, but let that one go down. And then, yeah. Okay, so, and then go, ready? Then continue, 1, 2, 3. 1, and then keep going, just, this is sequence, so we just work the sequence. And push. So that's brush, knee, and push. There's 3 of them. That's it, yeah. Okay, good. Deep breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, good. So try 42. Just go through the sequence. So we have a couple of things that we learn as postures. It's muscle memory as a skeletal structure. Then we have the transitional sequential side of that memory. Then we have the form sequence memory. So we're really taxing our memory when we're learning things like this, sequential type things. So when we open the form, Good. Deep breathing. So, how does everyone feel? It's been a while, huh? Yeah.
Realizing the meditation's on Zoom, so it's all I have to do now is just go.
You gotta go? Go home and Zoom?
Yeah, after Zoom.
Okay.
It was great to be back.
Okay. Don't drive. Zoom, zoom, zoom.
I'm gonna go slowly
Okay.
Zoom.
Okay. So it's good. I mean, movement is something that builds a lot of intelligence, but it's that physical, mental relationship. So when we talk about mind-body exercise, this is really a mind-body exercise because we're not just meditating and being in the moment, but we're actually activating a lot of stuff going up here. And we know from all the stuff that we hear about Alzheimer, Parkinson's, dementia, all this stuff. The commercials tell you to take a lot of supplements to get that to happen, but a lot of it happens because not some of it's nutrients, but because we don't actually move enough. Think about movement. When kids are running around when they're little and they're really active, and that's about the times when they're learning a lot of things about life, and then they evolve a little bit more, So what do we stop doing as we age? We stop moving. We don't stop thinking, we stop moving. So there must be something tied to that concept. So movement is actually very important to maintain the brain plasticity and to be able to do things. Because when you become dysfunctional, you really can't really do a lot of things for yourself, especially if it's severe. So doing this is trying to help prevent some of that from happening. Does it work? I'll tell you when I get there. But so far it seems like it's pretty good. My memory's still pretty good. I remember names most of the time. Sometimes I forget, but then sequential things and I think it's the ability to draw those things that are stored in there, because we don't actually delete stuff. It just kind of stays there. So it's your ability to draw it out is what actually slows down too. But when people have dementia, what happens? Their long-term memory is still there. The short-term memory starts to go, and you can't remember things like phone numbers and so forth. We can't remember phone numbers anyways because we have auto dial. We hit the name and it goes. We used to have to remember numbers, right? I remember Andrew 8000. That was the commercial that they had for the rug place. Do you remember Andrew 8000? Phone numbers used to be 2 digits and 5 numbers. Remember that? So Andrew was down near South Boston called Andrew Square. He had a place called, and his phone number was Andrew, that area, the first 2 digits, 8000, and that was the phone number there. I remember my home phone was Highlands 52135. My father's restaurant is Garrison 76390. His store in Chinatown is Hancock 6. That one I'm not sure now. Hancock 63073. Yeah. So those are things, because we used to have to dial it. It took coordination to dial a phone. Then you started pushing buttons. So we stopped making circles, and now we can't do it. That's why kids can't write so well today. Their penmanship is horrible because it's a motor skill, and when you lose that, you lose it. Okay, we're going to bow because Kim's very excited right now, ready to go, right? Oh, 1, 2, 3. That's called body language. Okay. Oh, I didn't,
They didn't know what,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
no idea, it's hysterical.
No, the old phones, you know, like if you didn't hold it into all the way to hit that little silver thing, then it would go. I mean, it took a long time to make a phone call, but the thing is, sometimes you would mess it up because your finger slipped out of the little round thing.
Hard to believe.
Yeah. Well, how about back in the day when they had to do this to get
Oh,
there?
God, yeah. Am I okay to come?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.